Assalamu'Alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to another round of the GPVWC Academy Series. We're at Donnington, and we are in qualifying. We're currently sitting in third place, and this lap is about 2-3 tenths of the best lap time that I've done on the practice server. So the fact that I was getting this close to matching it in qualifying was pretty good. So I thought I'd take you around for a hot lap for what is going to be my fastest lap of the session, coming to the close of qualifying as well. Very close to P2, that front row start. So into the final corner, you want to get on the power nice and early, turn in nice and late so you can get on the power super early. Pull the car all the way over to the left to start your lap. Now, turn one, this is where you can already gain a bit of time using this pit exit area into third gear, nice late apex, back on the power, and you let the car out using up that green AstroTurf. Now hold it tight all the way down the hill as you make your way into the left hand. I forget what this sequence of corners is called. Now early down into sixth, back on the power. You don't actually brake for the right hander at the bottom of the hill, and then as you come up the hill, you hold it in sixth. You don't go up into seventh because there's not that much time left. Plus it's uphill. Fourth gear, clip the curb, back on the power. Rear end wants to step out on us, so we lose a couple of hundredths there. Fourth gear, as you come over the crest, turn in. It is a blind turn and very difficult, and then you've got a lot of track on exit that you can use, and we're pretty much dead even with our best lap time of the session. So into this final corner, I don't really know where I brake. Second gear, I missed the apex a bit, and I don't quite abuse the curbing as much as I should have, so I think I probably lose about a tenth there or so. Anyway, we make our way down the hill. You can brake very late. It is a downhill braking zone. Down into first gear, back on the power, open up the steering so that your rear end doesn't essentially spin out. And then I hear something from Recreate, which is to take this corner in second gear. So that's what I do versus what I was doing before, which was taking it in first. And, well, I gain a tenth. So with that, we gain 2 tenths as we come across the line. I had more fuel in my car, so I thought I'll go for another lap. But that was a 25.3, and into turn one, a bit too much speed. We end up running wide, so we call it quits. Sadly, though, Marie Schaaf was able to improve on their lap. They actually did a 24.9. I think Matthias Harvig also did a 24.9 or something ridiculous. So we're starting from third. Not a bad position to be in. And now it's about seeing what our race pace is like. I didn't get a huge amount of race pace practice. I was just doing laps and enjoying the track. Definitely my favourite circuit to drive on so far in the Academy Series. Now, we wait for the lights, and an issue here with Donnington is it's a downhill start, so you've got to have your foot on the brake, otherwise your car will roll forward. And you might have seen my tyres just turning a bit when my foot comes off the brake. So I decided to have my foot on the brake and accelerate in neutral and then shift up into first. So there we go, and it's a very, very late reaction, and that means Tom Ely has a think of going down our inside. We try to cover it off, but too late, so we leave space, have a look to our left to make sure we're not coming across anyone. Third gear, leaving space for Tom, and Tom sticks up our inside, but this entire time I'm just getting very frustrated because, well, I can see the two leaders getting away, and I know that I'm going to have my Tom on the inside as we go into this right-hand corner. I leave space back on the power, a little bit wide touching the grass, but we've done it. We're up into P3. We've got enough of a gap to Tom behind us so we can focus up ahead. And I kind of forget, cold tyres, you need to brake early for this uphill right-hander because otherwise that happens. You go wide. Tom has a little look. He almost makes contact with our rear end as we come across to defend the position. To be honest, I think he kind of made contact before we started moving over. And now on the exit onto the back straight, it is a certain Sweetman that some of you might remember as Battle Mine from the FXR days. Again, braking too late, downshifting into second, way too late, and now we're still under pressure from Sweetman behind us, so we have to think about going defensive, but it's all looking okay. Now, at this point, we're 2 seconds behind the guys ahead. Thankfully, Tom Ely goes up the inside of Liam Sweetman, so that means that we get a little bit of breathing room, and it means that now we can just push and focus on the track up ahead of us. So we'll see what the gap is across the line, but this is how much time I literally just lost straight away off the first lap. And across the line, we're 3.3 seconds behind Matthias, 2.2 seconds behind Marie Schaaf. So not a good lap, very, very bad opening lap. And to be honest, I was just in no man's land. So coming to start lap 8, we're 5.2 seconds behind Marie. We're 4 seconds ahead of Tom Ely, and yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was a bit boring, but this was essentially the point where I decided, like, I've saved the tyres enough, let me push, because I heard that apparently Matthias and Marie's tyres were at a much worse state than mine's, and you can see, start of lap 10, the gap to Marie is still exactly the same. But this is where I make my best save of the race, because I go wide, the back end comes out, and a very quick catch, but we lose about half a second from it, maybe more as we go up the hill. What is it, 6/10 nearly? So yeah, we lost a hell of a lot of time from that moment. And that's pretty much how it was. We end up closing back in onto Marie Schaaf a little bit, and now we're about to start the final lap of the race. And actually, Matthias made a mistake coming out of the final corner. He put a wheel over that curb on the right hand side, and it spun him around. And when we come across the line, we can see the gap, 2.9 seconds. So if it wasn't for that very, very bad race start, where we lost, what, 2 seconds, we'd be right on the back of Matthias here. And yeah, it would have been a little bit closer. It would have been more entertaining, especially if I didn't lose my rear end through this uphill right-hander that we're reaching into now. So it's unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. At the end of the day, third is fairly good. Marie and Matthias are very, very quick, as we've seen every single race this season. And, well, for Matthias anyway, he's ridiculously fast. Maybe one day I'll get my chance to beat him. I've gotten close on a couple of occasions, I think, but he's always just had that tiny little edge over me. As always, guys, we are running with default setup, so I use that. That's my moral high ground. That being said, Matthias and Marie probably using default setups as well, but I don't want to ask them that, because that would make me realise that I'm not that quick. And I don't want to do that. I want to live in my delusions. But P3 is alright. We've got a 10-second gap to Tom Ely. Plus, we've got a reverse grid race coming up. So if we can keep Matthias and Marie behind, well, actually just Marie, because Matthias usually doesn't race the second races anymore. I think he's like 14, so I think sometimes he's got to go to bed. Plus, with this race, I think he was a little bit upset with his mistakes, so he decided to call it quits. Either way, here we go then for the second race of the day, the final race. We're starting from P12, so we've got Marie in our right rear, we've got Tom Ely just in front, and then we've got Liam Sweetman directly in front of us. And actually, our good old friend, our ERS teammate Teknovin, is starting on pole. We almost get a jump start, and as a result, I then get a bad start off the line because I'm jumping on the brakes. But there we go. So I'm just seeing an accident happening up ahead, and there is the accident. So I move to the inside, then I see another car coming on slowly. I don't know where they're going, and that means Marie goes down my inside. Now, I had an agreement with Marie Schaaf, and I'm giving this because important context. So I had an agreement with Marie before the race that we wouldn't battle with each other. We'd just work together, and then once we got to the front, or towards the front, then we'd battle. But that wasn't anything wrong from Marie, because I made a mistake and she took advantage of it. So that was fair. That's part of the agreement that we essentially had, and I'll explain why, or you'll see why I'm bringing this up. Because as we make up our way up the hill, we're currently in P7, P8. We actually get a pretty good run, and this is where I'm on the back of Marie, and I'm thinking, do I battle with her? And I think, you know what? No, we have our little friendly agreement. We won't do that. I get on the brakes nice and early, so I don't run into the back of Marie, and I try to look for a cutback, but I just don't carry any speed into the corner. And then I do get the cutback. So now I look to the inside of Marie, and down the inside I go, and we make our way up into P7. Marie doesn't fight it too hard, credit to her. I have a little bit of a lift coming out of the corner, so not too sure why. But we head into the final corner, and we're now right on the back of this group of cars up ahead of us. And this is where I then think, you know what, I shouldn't have overtaken Marie. We had our agreement, so here's what I'll do. I'll move to the inside, I'll lift off, I'll let Marie through. But all this has meant is, by battling with her, I should have been on the back of Marie, who would be on the back of the car in front at this point. So, yeah, I should have just gone. It was just stupid from me. With these stuff, like, you get it in karting, but it's just like, once you're through, you're through. Especially if, like, there I got a rather easy move. It wasn't a dive bomb, it was just, I was quicker, I went down the inside. It was chill, right? We didn't hold each other up, so it was stupid of me to let Marie through, because by this point I could have already been up a position, but live and learn, I guess. We make our way over the top of the hill, and we get a decent-ish exit. To be honest, I was definitely quicker in the second race than I was in the first race, but we're essentially just waiting for Marie to battle with the guys up ahead, and then we'll really close in. We get a pretty damn good run through that chicane. We close up a lot to the guys ahead of us. So someone's going defensive up ahead. I think that's Mark McNaughton, and Marie's looking for the outside. This allows us to close in. That is Tom Ely, who's had an incident and has now dropped down the order a bit. So I'm not quite sure what happened there to Tom, because he's usually the one in that yellow car. Then there's an incident up ahead. I see it happening too late, and then I get a bit of damage, which I now check, and you can see it's blue towards the front. So it's not a lot of damage, but it's there nonetheless. We're up into P6 now. And now there's a gap between us and Marie once again. So coming towards the end of the lap, that gap is still there. Marie goes down the inside. There's contact between the two drivers, and that brings us back into play once again. And now we're right on the rear end of these two. I don't know who's at fault for that incident. I've not watched it over enough times. Marie has a little think about the inside, and this is where I see in my wing mirrors that Tom Ely's right on my tail. I get a very good run out of the corner, and I have a think, do I want to go down the inside? Decide against it early on the brake so that I don't run into the back of that pink open wheel car up in front. A bit later on the next lap, up the hill, contact between the two of them. Marie gets turned around. I managed to dodge it. I think Tom Ely, Tom gets caught up in that as well. So I think I did a very good job to avoid that incident. But at this point, we're 2.5 seconds now behind the drivers up ahead in P4, so P3, P2, just up the road. We're coming to the end of lap 4 of 15, so we've got plenty of opportunity to catch in, and 1.5 laps later, we're on the back of these two. So we've had a very quick couple of laps. We've actually got the fast lap of the race. We get right up to the back of Mr. Walker. I want to assume that's Ryan Walker, but I have no idea what his first name is. But you can see on the delta, the little HUD thing, bottom left corner, 26.395. So that's fast lap of the race, and then under it is my fastest lap of the race, and they're the same, which means that I have the fastest lap of the session so far. We get a decent run coming out of the chicane, and I'm closing in onto Walker, and I think, you know what, I'm going to play it patient. I'm not going to be too aggressive. I look for the outside. I think I'll go for the switchback, but for some reason I go down into first gear, and I just don't carry enough speed. I don't get the exit I want, so I'm stuck behind Walker for another lap, and now Florian is a second up the road, which is just unfortunate. So on the next lap, now Florian is 1.5 seconds up the road, so it's just annoying because I'm losing so much time, and the guy who's leading, Piotr Adamczyk, is 7 seconds ahead. I end up going on the grass on the exit, but I think, you know what, let's go for it. Down the inside, this is honestly a textbook move. This is probably the cleanest, most effective move I've done this entire season. Just a very solid textbook move. Late on the brakes, send it down the inside. We have a moment with the rear. We recover it, back on the power. Now, let's see what the gap is to Florian as we cross the line, and to Piotr. 7 seconds to Piotr on the dot, 1.7 to Florian. Now, later on that exact same lap, or 1.5 laps later, I wasn't paying attention to the lap counter. We're right on the back of Florian. We're 5.3 seconds behind Piotr, so we've gained practically 2 seconds in 2 laps on the race leader, and we try to go down the inside. I'd say Florian started coming across early, which caught me out, which is why there was contact. I think if he stayed all the way to the left, that would have been fine, but I think that's his turn-in point, so I should have been turning in more. We brake nice and early. Florian tries to hold it around the outside. We've got a bit more damage to our front wing. You can see it's now dark blue, royal blue, as opposed to the light blue of before. We move to the inside to try to cover off Florian. Nice and early on the brakes. We don't want to run wide. Florian tries to hold it around the outside. I try not to squeeze him. And as a result, it cost me time. We're half a second down. We lost half a second on the previous lap. And we were 5 seconds behind Piotr when we came across the line. But now we're clear. And now it's about getting our heads down with 5 more laps to go to see what we can do. As we start lap 11, the gap is down to 4.7 seconds. On the last lap, we were battling with Florian, so we were only able to take 3/10 out of the race leader. Unfortunate, but there you go. So we're going to keep our heads down, try to close in. 5 more laps to go to see what we can do. As we start lap 11, the gap is down to 4.7 seconds. On the last lap, we were battling with Florian, so we were only able to take 3/10 out of the race leader. Unfortunate, but there you go. So we're going to keep our heads down, try to close in. and as we're coming to the end of this lap, remember that gap was 4.7, it's down to 4.4, and then I lose the rear, which costs me, yeah, half a second practically. So let's see the gap across the line, 4.3, like that could be 3.8, or at the very least 4.0 seconds. So I've got 4 laps to go, I've got to catch over 4 seconds, and this is when the pressure started to get to me, because I knew I had to push. Like this time around, 3.3 seconds, so I've taken a second, and I know I can get a second every lap, and I was pushing hard, because I knew, like, unless I gave it 100% every lap, I would not catch this guy, who was seemingly getting faster with not just over this race, but over like the entire day. Then I have a moment with the rear. We were 2 tenths up going into that corner on our best lap time, so we were looking at like a 25.6, and we end up coming out of that corner a tenth down, nearly 2 tenths down actually. So, well, there you go, 3 tenths down. So that, again, another half a second gone there practically, and it was just really unfortunate because I could just feel the race slipping away. You know, my first race, my first academy win, and I just couldn't close in. It was, if I had one more lap, I wouldn't have had to push as hard, and I could have just slowly closed in, but I knew that me being at 90% wouldn't have been enough. And coming to the end of lap 14, 2 second gap to Piotr. Again, too much speed into this corner, and we end up dropping back end again. We end up dropping half a second. So, you know, twice going into that corner, I've dropped half a second. Another time I dropped half a second into that chicane. I could be 1.5 seconds closer. I could be 9 tenths behind. This could have been a great race that went right down to the wire, but sadly, yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's racing at the end of the day. So a lot to learn. Again, another moment into that corner. At this point, I just wasn't thinking straight. I was kind of throwing everything at the lap, but I wasn't productively doing it. I knew that it was over. I knew I wasn't catching him, and it was just desperation. I was kind of swearing in VC as well because, yeah, I knew that I should have been able to win this race. And while the second is good, when Matthias isn't racing, when Marie had her incident and then retired, this is a race I should win. And dare I say, when Will Gibson isn't racing, I can't believe I just said that, but there you go. Yeah, it's unfortunate. So I guess we just have to take it on the chin, and try to come back stronger for next time. Maybe just finish P10 in the next race, so we get to start at the front for the reverse grid race at the next round, which is in 4 weeks' time, because yeah, all the races are monthly now rather than bi-weekly. But there you go. This has been the race at Donnington. It was fun. You know, I enjoyed this Donnington track more than any of the other tracks. So live and learn. Thank you everyone for watching. Links for everything in the description as always. And until next time, stay milky and Assalamu'Alaikum.